All right. Well, hey, Adé. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, doing well. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Of course.
For all of those of you who are checking in, welcome to Conversations on Christianity, where we have conversations on Christianity. Today we are talking with Adé Idowu, and I'm going to let him introduce himself here in a little bit.
Yep.
But today we're talking about neighboring, how to be a good neighbor, and some of those things. And so, Adé, talk to us about who you are, and what you do, and what does it have to do with neighboring?
Yeah. So my name is Adé Idowu. I've been at Abide in North Omaha on 45th in Bedford Street for about 2 years. And my job is the leadership coordinator. And so all around leadership network that we have at Abide, where we gather people who are for and from the city to help develop other leaders in the city. And then I'm the Lighthouse Leader Coordinator. And so I know we'll talk more about the Lighthouse program, but the Lighthouse program is simply we buy houses, we put families in those houses. They love their neighbors. Mm-hmm. And that's the simplest way to put it. And that involves a lot of training from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you work for Abide. Tell us, for those of people who maybe don't know of Abide or know just a little bit, what does Abide do? What is its work?
Yeah. So Abide, we are in the business of making North Omaha stronger and safer. And so we want to see every person have every opportunity to reach their God-given potential. And so we have a lot of different programs that we do that through. One of the main ones, like I said, is the Lighthouse program. Again, like I said, we take abandoned houses, we renovate it from ground up. Sometimes it goes down to studs, and sometimes they're houses that are already kind of move-in ready. Place families in those neighborhoods or in that house, and they simply love their neighbor in very tangible ways. Other things that we do is leadership networking. And so we want to, again, gather people from the community who are for and from this city and from this community who want to continue to help develop the city. And so we want to provide like top level content creation, people, speakers, those business leaders, again, to kind of speak about what they do and how they can keep on pushing forward purpose. And so it's been really powerful. I mean, even Josh himself is getting into content creation. He's the CEO of Abide. Content creation. So he has a podcast on purpose. And so we do a lot of talk about purpose. What is your purpose for your life? Mm-hmm. How do you help others discover their purpose? And those are probably the three big pillars of what we do.
Yeah. And so you're in North Omaha. Can you give people a little bit of a rundown, just in case they don't know, what are the challenges facing North Omaha and why Abide chose that area to do what it does?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I know that you guys we're right here sitting in Elkhorn, and you recognize even when you go down to North Omaha, there's a massive gap. And so we realized in this gap that there is 100-something streets between, that there is a gap between those who have and those who have not, and those who are able to have or have access to have and those who have more access to have. And so we recognized 36 years ago through Ron Doesler that he wanted to see people in North Omaha changed for the betterment of purpose again and for God. He wanted to see people who would be living with a sense of purpose in their lives. And so the reason why we chose North Omaha is because we realized that there are people there in our community who have challenges that others outside of the community might not have. And so we have things like criminal activity, drugs, gangs, violence that we've seen decrease over the last 20 years. However, they're still one of the biggest causes of hurt and pain in our community. So again, we want to see resources. We want to see development. We want to see people who are having purpose. We want to see people who like love each other and look after each other. And we chose it just ultimately because we realized again that gap.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's really great work. I've been to several of the Abide leadership lunches, and those are all things that you've coordinated and you've set up. And they've all. I mean, it's been amazing, man. I think Abide's a great organization. Man. I think I told you this that kind of work, especially the Lighthouse program. Of moving families and individuals into homes in some of these neighborhoods that are suffering, to see them transformed. Like out of college, I would have been there.
Yeah. Seriously.
If that was going on. So,
hey, you still have a chance.
Yeah, still have a chance. That's right. The commute would be a bear. The 45-minute commute out here to Elkhorn would be a bear.
Man.
But so talk to us more about the Lighthouse program in particular, because that's what I want to hammer down into today. Talk to us about the Lighthouse program. Can you also share a little bit of the history? Because and maybe this is wrong, but the Abide all kind of started because of a Lighthouse type situation. So give us just a little bit of a history of the Lighthouse program and specifically what the Lighthouse program does there in North Omaha.
Yeah. So Abide has been around for 36 years by founded by Ron and Tawane Dotzler. They are not the current CEOs, but when they moved in, they had a desire to, again, see the neighborhood changed. And so they lived with a sense of purpose. But what Ron found, which is so powerful for him, is that while he was trying to change North Omaha, he realized that North Omaha was changing him. And we say all the time that proximity matters. And so from him living the lavish life that he lived before he moved into North Omaha, he realized that in North Omaha, the challenges were going to be, that God was greater than the challenges of North Omaha's community. And so he would do things like street interviews. He'd ask them questions about what do they want to see from pastors? What do they want to see from churches? What do they want to see about all these different topics? And what he started to do with his wife is they started to have youth programs and block parties and trash cleanup and all these types of things that were bringing fun, a love, care for the neighborhood, things that North Omaha had not seen ever before in their lives. That was around the same time that I would say a lot of we don't talk all the time, but a lot of organizations around North Omaha were actually starting to. Ron was developing leaders along with organizations that were starting 5-10 years later, which is why we start to see a big decline in criminal and homicide activity over the last 20 years. But Ron not only did those block parties, but again, he developed leaders. And so we realized that developing leaders is at the core of what Abide does, but it's at the core of the Lighthouse program. And so again, we take houses that are used to be a sore thumb in neighborhoods that used to be abandoned, because we realized that when you have an abandoned house in a really hard neighborhood, psychologically there tends to be a lot of criminal activity that people are drawn to do in those houses and in those neighborhoods. And it looks bad for the houses that are nearby who are trying to do good in their neighborhoods and in their lawn. And so what we realized is that we want to take those houses, actually, let's decrease the criminal activity by buying those houses. Let's renovate them over the next few years. And then let's place a leader in that house who intentionally wants to love their neighbor. And so we've been doing that specific program for 16 years. And it started with the church, with Abide and Bridge Church, who are together. And Bridge Church was this church where they saw massive transformation over even a 5-7 year span, where they saw thousands of people get baptized. I mean, from the hardest people, hardest gangbangers to drug dealers to all these people who were in rough situations. But Bridge Church in this time was connected to Abide, and they would take people from Abide or from Bridge Church, develop them in their culture, week to week basis, of course, from Sunday mornings, and they would be the main people moving into houses. Okay. Over the years, we moved away from that specific strategy, and now we allow those who go to any type of church around Omaha to be a part of the Lighthouse program. And so again, the whole goal, and we'll talk about the training, but the whole goal is that we will love our neighbors in very tangible and very practical ways. The whole mission really has not changed over the last 16 to 36 years, but the way that we kind of do it has had a few updates. Yeah.
So you identify these houses that you would like to purchase and like to renovate. Our church, Lutheran Church of the Master, actually bought one of these houses last year, I think, right? Yep. And it was one of these houses that really had to get taken down all the way to the studs. I mean, everything was gone.
Oh yeah.
And then new stairs were built. I mean, it was a huge renovation.
100%.
And so then you have leaders waiting in the wings for that, and then you connect them to those houses, get them moved in. So talk to us more specifically about, I guess I'm interested in some of the nuts and bolts of when you're moving a family in. And I do want to talk about some of when we talk about some of the training that they get about cross-cultural training, because it's not always families from North Omaha or families that are familiar with these, these kinds of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
When they move in, what are some of the specific things that you have them doing to get introduced to their neighbors, to transform their block, all that kind of stuff? What are some of the things specifically that you ask them to do?
Yeah. I mean, preferably, I would like for those people who are interested in the Lighthouse program to have been a part of Abide's events in the first place, because we know good and well that a lot of people from outside of the community don't even want to drive through the community.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so if they can just step a foot through one of our block parties, through our 5K, that would be great, just to get them into the community, get a little bit more involved. Yeah. But then they inquire with me over Abide's website, and they will let me know, hey, I'm inquiring about the Lighthouse program. I take them through the entire process of the application, kind of take them through what it looks like. And then if we're going to move them into a house, what we do is we get them acclimated. We show them the houses. We show them some of the houses that were in studs and show them just kind of the transformation. And we would show them some of the potential houses that they could be in. And from that point on, you can start telling that they have a real vision of what North Omaha and living as a lighthouse leader could look like. And from there, we take them through the training. One of the things that I do is, I don't know if you want me to get into this yet, but
you can get into it. Go ahead.
Connect, care, call. That's one of the biggest things that we take them through. It's probably our most important training. Is we ask our leaders to connect with their neighbor at least once or twice a week. We ask them to spend about 1 hour to 3 hours a week actually engaging with their neighbors. We want to see them build relationships. We realize that building a relationship with people is one of the first steps to helping people understand and see Jesus. Because we can put on Jesus and we understand that we are making our appeal before people as if God is within us, because he is. But we realize also that the relationship part matters a lot. We see what Jesus did to Nicodemus. He recognized him first and he called him down. It wasn't just like, hey, Nicodemus, come and repent of your sins now. Jesus had he could say it. Of course he could say that, of course. And potentially Nicodemus would have said yes. But he built a relationship. He knew him. He saw him first. So we want our lighthouse leaders to connect, then care. We want to see them actually care for them in very tangible ways. We realize, again, that there's a gap between those who have and those who have not. Some of our neighbors are going through really hard times. Some of them, as simple as this, don't have water and food. Something that we see as normal for us, some of them don't get a lunch break because they have no lunch. Some of them get one thing per day. Some people eat hot Cheetos as their morning or their lunch, which is a very sad reality. So we want to be able to care for them in a very tangible way. How can we give them the resources through our Abide campus, through a tour, through whatever it looks like, dance program, whatever it looks like, to get them connected? And then lastly, call. We realize that, man, if people do not know Jesus, I can develop the best John Maxwell leader in the entire world. Great. Another Apple company has been built up. Let's just call it Pear. The Pear phone comes out. It's the greatest guy, greatest leader over the last 150 years. And we believe that if he does not know Jesus, then he'll perish. We don't want to see that happen. And so we want to call people higher, not just as a leader, because we want to see everyone have that leadership. We want to see people know Jesus. Because I want to help you relate to you. I want to care for you, and I want to see you know Jesus.
That's great. And so you see all of those things as they all go together, right? 100%. It's not evangelism. It's not sharing Jesus and serving. It's or serving, I should say. It's not evangelism or serving. It's these things actually go hand in hand.
100%.
And by being present with people, by being around them, by knowing who they are, knowing their names. That is how we share Jesus with them, because we're embodying Jesus, not just talking about him. It's right?
Powerful. 100%. I mean, I even think about the simple fact that you even invited me to come out here shows that not only you value me, and I'm sure some of the things that we have to offer you. I mean, we're offering the podcast, we're offering some notes. We're giving this content to your church, but for you to see me as valuable enough to even do that, it's the same idea. I want to see the value in people. Again, we want to see every person have every opportunity to reach their God-given potential. Man, if I can value the drug dealer, if I can value the kid who has a misdemeanor, if I can, value the one in my neighborhood who's having a hard time, that goes a long way in seeing neighborhood transformation.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So now talk to me about, and we're going to circle back on that Connect Care call. But talk to me about the transformation you've seen in neighborhoods. So is this lighthouse model effective? How many do you have? What kind of response have you seen? Talk to me about how North Omaha has seen some change because of these lighthouses.
So we've renovated over 50 houses over the last 16 years, which has been powerful. We're on our mission we're on a mission to renovating and owning about 100 houses in the next 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
75 in the next 3 years.
Okay, that's crazy.
It's wild to think about that. Again, the whole goal is placing leaders in those houses. And so the question was,
what kind of transformation have you seen?
So we've seen wild transformation happen in these neighborhoods. I'll just tell you about my own experience personally. I moved into a neighborhood where they told me not only just to be careful, but to realize that your neighbor was involved in some things that probably isn't the best. which is potentially some neighborhood or criminal activity.
Yeah.
There is no absolute proof, but we knew that there was some criminal activity happening in our neighborhood. And this is why it was effective, because I saw that, I recognized that, and realized that I want to see value in that guy, and that person, in that family. However, I still had my humanly, freshly thing of like, hey, I'm scared. Like, this is nerve-wracking. I come from the suburbs of Atlanta. This is not normal for me to move into the hood, the pure hood. And then you tell me this guy is...
Yeah, your next door neighbor is problematic. Yeah. Yeah.
And then guess what? The guy across the street from you is going to be yelling nonstop, and the girl across the street from you is going to be yelling at her kids. I mean, tell me all these things coming in. I'm nervous for sure. I think a lot of us would be nervous about that. We've seen some crazy transformation that's happened. The previous lighthouse leader that was in my house actually got rent out by my neighbor because he was being threatening to her and to her house. He vandalized her house. He vandalized her cameras. He spray painted snitch all over her walls because of a situation that he thought that she was involved with. There were so many different things that happened because of what he thought she had done to him.
Wow.
He thought that she was tearing apart his family. One thing that Ron talks about all the time is that one of the biggest problems with North Omaha and the people in North Omaha is that they have experienced enough trauma in their lives.
Yeah.
Can't blame them. Yeah. But they've just experienced a lot of trauma. I'm sure in the mind of my neighbor, he thought someone else was trying to tear apart his family.
Yeah.
That happens all across North Omaha through racism over the last 400 years. But I'm sure he thought that. Let me tell you how this changed and how this is transformed. Over time, I started to see myself get more comfortable with him and him with me. I started to hang out with his family. We started to play basketball on a regular basis with his family and other kids in the neighborhood. He started opening up to me, and they'll tell you that the parents are the hardest to have open up to you.
Oh, wow.
The kids will run up to you first day.
Of course,
as you're literally picking up a bed to go into your house, like moving day, they are there at your front door. But the parents, they're the ones who stay inside, who are not always engaged with you. I've seen them go from being standoffish to me taking their kids to play basketball, for me being able to hang out with their kids on a regular basis, for him to be making food for us on a regular basis. And I'll tell you a quick story that I won't make too long, but we had a wild situation that happened last year in our house where I can tell at that moment, okay, I am close with my neighbor now. The one who used to be disruptive, I'm very close with him now. There was a big brawl happening in my neighborhood, and I'm watching it happen with my own eyes through my window. And funny enough, and I tell people all the time, I spoke to King of Kings Church about this, how I'm such a 26-year-old that I pulled out my phone as the brawl is happening and recorded looking out the window. Didn't step in, didn't call the police, didn't do anything, just being just pure. Just
recorded,
But my mindset is that, I want to make sure I have this as backup. Because my cameras got spray painted by my neighbor, so I couldn't use my Ring camera.
Right.
So I wanted to use it in case the police came to my door. They have in a pass for that. What happened was, as I'm watching this brawl happen, my mother was there and my wife were there and my two kids were there. My mother randomly yells, "Gun, gun." She takes the kids, again, we're inside the house. She takes the kids, runs to the back, tells my wife, Hannah, to run to the back too. I thought my mother was crazy. She's also from the suburbs. She grew up in the suburbs. I'm thinking she's nervous. I mean, she'd come into our neighborhood already nervous because of what she heard about North Omaha. So she says that. She goes to the back, and I decide I'm going to, for some reason, go outside. Let me tell you why I went outside. As she was yelling, "Gun, gun," I saw a 1-year-old baby in a diaper walking in the middle of the street.
Oh, my goodness.
And so in my mind, I have to be Superman right now and go save this 1-year-old baby, because that matters way more.
Yeah.
And so I go out there, I grab this 1-year-old baby, bring him back to the front doorstep as the brawl is still happening. This is 3 different families who are really mad at each other.
Wow.
They're starting to separate now. And as the mother of, again, my next door neighbor we're talking about, the mother and then the boyfriend are coming back to their door. They're thanking me not only for me being able to take care of their child during this time, but the mother is still upset. But she goes into her car. She's about to go away. She's about to drive away. I do something that I never thought I would ever do. It's got to be the power of the Holy Spirit and the boldness. I never would do this again, probably. But I open the passenger door as she's getting into her front door, about to pull off. For some reason, again, don't know why I did that. And that's just, you don't really do that to anybody anywhere. Yeah. But especially not in the hood.
Right. Yeah.
And she's crying out to me, telling me, like, you don't mess with my kids. You don't mess with my kids. And she's so upset because she feels like those other people are violating her kids and her family.
Wow.
But as she stops saying that, I start telling her, I've seen you be a great mom in the way you take care of your kids on the Sunday mornings, where you play gospel music out loud and you're teaching them about Jesus kind of. I see you be a great mom in the way that you were helping your kids play basketball. I've seen you jump in and play basketball with your kids. I've seen you do all these types of things. And over time, I start seeing her shoulders go from being uptight to being a lot more relaxed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And from that moment forward, I have seen that family trust me in ways that I have never thought.
Wow.
To the point where I'm taking them and their kids to school. I'm taking the dad to school when he doesn't have a license. I mean, like, all these things are starting to happen simply by building a relationship with their kids and with their family, into actually caring for them and then showing them Jesus by me just being there present with them. So the long story, but amazing. Man, it's been powerful to watch happen.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit, because I'm sure some people are wondering that, you talk about that some of the cross-cultural issues that you run into.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm sure some of your lighthouse leaders are from North Omaha. They understand some of the complications, but I'm guessing a lot are like you, where they're just not at all, or maybe the cultural divide's even wider for them as they're coming in. So talk to us about how you're training these people as they come into North Omaha with this focus of connecting, you know, first and foremost, of like getting to know people.
100%.
And really, there's in a discerning way, but in a non-judgmental way, right? To know your neighbors, right? So it's really just knowing them as they are, right?
Yep.
And then caring for them, helping them get what they need, and then calling them to Jesus. So talk to me about that cross-cultural divide, and how do you train people to think through being moving into an area and rubbing shoulders with people who are so different from them.
Yeah. 100%. Well, yeah, a lot of people don't know that North Omaha is not just full of black people. As I know that it's been said over the last however many years. I'm not from here, but they told me that this has been a normal thing that people have said, that it's just African Americans that are there. I mean, it'll surprise you. My neighbor on both sides are African American, but then there's an Asian, and then there's a Hispanic, and then there's a Native American, and then there's a white guy, and it's so diverse. And so for someone who is moving into North Omaha, who has a different social status, has more money, maybe potentially is a different ethnicity than those who are around them, I have to first of all tell them that they have to practice humility as they walk into this neighborhood. Because the reality is that as much as they want to present to them Jesus, they have to first, again, see Nicodemus and then call him down from the tree. Because the reality is they don't understand as much as we think or want to understand. And so we have to help people realize that humility is, first of all, very, very vital. Second of all, I have to train them that different people do different cultural things. And so I speak about ethnocentrism, or not being ethnocentric, which is simply thinking that your ethnicity is the only ethnicity. I remember being in college when I went to a mostly white college, and I didn't understand this rock song. I didn't know this rock song. And all these people were like, hey, you don't know this rock song? That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm an African-American from Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know rock songs. I know rap. I know gospel music. I know R&B. And so they would always be like, man, like, you don't know this, you don't know that.
Wow.
And I had to tell them that this ethnocentrism is really not only hurting my feelings, but it's causing more of a divide. And so I have to teach lighthouse leaders who are not from the community, be careful of ethnocentrism. Just because you make your rice a little bit softer does not mean the couple who makes their rice harder next to you is wrong for them making rice a little bit harder. And so how do we navigate humility? You realizing that you aren't the only person who lives in this world, and your ethnicity isn't the only ethnicity who does things the way that they do things. And then I think they have to have an open mind. They have to realize that people are just going to be different than them and are going to express things different than them. We realize that generally, I'm just going to speak in general terms, African Americans tend to be louder. Italians tend to speak to their own family members a little bit louder. Hispanics tend to live, so there's different things we have to realize that are cultural. And so for me, I can't walk into a neighborhood and hear an African American mother yelling at her kids, seeing that as, oh, she's an abusive mother, maybe then realizing maybe she's just talking very loudly to her kids. I speak very loud. So my wife had to get to a realization and realize, I am just a loud person. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. Even when I'm being expressive, I don't know why. God made me this way. But again, it's that realizing that, hey, we have to be open. We have to realize that cultures are different. We're not the only ethnicity here, and humility is really important.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Well, because it's also, I think that we can import, because I think that's definitely true of a lighthouse leader coming in, that they, but it's true of all of us that we have to, whatever neighborhood we live in, and even whatever church we're a part of, we really have to have that level of humility to say, you know 100%. What, the assumptions that I'm bringing into, and all the cultural assumptions that I'm bringing into the gospel, I may have to like rethink that, right? And that can be even cross denominational, right? You can have 100%. Two people who culturally are very similar, right? Two middle class white families that are, on paper, man, they're like in that same socioeconomic status, same ethnic status. Maybe they're from similar areas, but even if they go to two different churches, right, they're importing the cultures of those churches into the gospel. And if they're looking at each other and going, well, you don't really know Jesus because of X, Y, Z, right? So we bring that, and I think that's why it's so important for all Christians, but that's why it's great that you're training your lighthouse leaders to do this, because now when they get to the time of calling people to Jesus, they're not asking people to be more like them or be more like their culture, right? They're trying to invite people to Jesus, right? So being a disciple of Jesus does not mean you listen to your music quietly. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like some of those cultural things that we can totally bring in, where we're like, ooh, well, that person is just not very expressive, right? So like they must not know Jesus very well. Or it could be the opposite. Like, dude, that person, like they're dancing and out of control. They must not know Jesus. We can import that culture, so that understanding your culture and having some humility, man, that's so key. 100%. Because we just bring all that baggage with us.
100%. We have these what's the word? We have the presuppositions about people that we have to leave at the door. I mean, Peter did that with Paul when it came down to wanting the Gentiles to experience it's in Acts. Experience circumcision in order for them to basically to know God. And it's like Paul's like, no. We need to do things a little bit different with them, because we realize that they have a different culture, and we're not trying to convert them to being Jewish, but to help them to submit their knee under Christ alone. And so it's that same idea of like, I'm not trying to change this entire culture for the sake of Jesus. I just want you to know Jesus and live that out in your culture. In a way.
That's great. Because it is, the Lord seems to redeem culture, right? And that does change it in a way, but we can see that across the history of the church, that language, art style, those kinds of things, they're not all the same across the globe, across history. They work from within the culture. The Spirit works from within a culture, and there are some countercultural things that happen, right, with Christians, because we are in Christ, not necessarily like in the culture. Right? So that we do end up rubbing, I think, every culture across the world and across history is going to have some things that run opposed to 100%. The way of Jesus. And so in some ways we're countercultural, but also in some ways, no. You also, the Lord uses culture and redeems 100%. It. So having some humility is super important. I want to move over to care. You talked about briefly some of the programs that Lighthouse Abide provides in connecting some of your neighbors with those programs. Maybe just kind of name a couple of them and kind of explain them, and how when you have your Lighthouse leaders going into these neighborhoods, how are you helping them think through knowing all those different programs that are available, who to get connected to? Talk to us about that for a little bit.
So we have Leona's dance studio that's on our campus. Grew from 5 girls over the last 6 years to over hundreds. Wow. I think in her catalog she's got 300 to 400 girls and guys who are dancing on a weekly basis. Actually,
that's amazing.
She's got many classes with many different teachers, and so she's doing a powerful work there. We tell people that $43 a month helps sponsor one of those kids in those classes.
Wow.
Can you imagine taking a girl who might be in distress, might be in addictions, who might see her parents doing whatever it is at home, and bringing her to a program that's stable by someone who loves the Lord, and teachers who are bringing them ultimately back to Jesus and helping them become leaders. And so that's powerful by itself. We have another program called Code Black. And there's an African-American guy who's helping those who are in this community and adults in this community or in North Omaha, not this community, but in North Omaha, to be able to extend past what is the norm through coding. Coding is not generally have a lot of African Americans and basically much diversity in that whole field. And so he wants to see African Americans experience jobs, and ones that are well-paying jobs through coding and website development, etc. through his program. Another one called Maker, which Maker is a engineering program where they help them understand robotics and engineering. And so all these different types of programs are ultimately trying to help those who are in our community to be connected to a resource that is bringing them hope on our campus.
That's great.
And so I teach Lighthouse leaders, hey, we have to realize that these are very good programs who are helping you as a Lighthouse leader in your community. Mm-hmm. It's a cyclical process. We want to see people from the house or from the community to be able to reach our campus and ultimately be able to go to the church that's on our campus. Yeah. And so, again, the campus is really just a partner for the neighborhood. Yeah. The campus by itself only can survive if those in the community, in the neighborhood, are able to be pointed back to the campus, again, to be connected to these resources. So it's been really powerful to see people get those from their community into these programs.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think I told you this today, but actually one of my neighbors down the street, he lives 4 or 5 houses down, an African-American gentleman who is a coder, and he helps out with Code Black.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so now then you have your call, right? So then you're calling people to Jesus. Yep. So you have your Lighthouse leaders there. They're involved in the neighborhood. You've got this relationship with the Abide campus in the neighborhood, and you're trying to get people connected so they can have easier access to the opportunities they need to help transform their life. But then you have this call where Jesus is kind of the center of it all. He's the thing that everything else orbits around, right? So then talk to us about that last step of calling people to Jesus, maybe even across cultural context. Like talk to us about how your Lighthouse leaders have experienced that.
Yeah. We have Love Church, who is based in Elkhorn. They have come on to be a church on our campus. And so we realized we want to see people from the womb to the tomb experience Jesus. We want to see someone be birthed into the church, and we want to see them leave and be with Jesus forever. And so, again, having a church is so powerful to our entire understanding of Connect Care Call and to our Lighthouse program because, again, like you said, it ultimately connects them to the ultimate source. Because, again, we don't want to just develop leaders. We want to develop people who are lovers of Jesus. And so cross-culturally, we have a lot of different churches that are in North Omaha, those who are Korean. We have African-American churches. We have a few churches that are a little more diverse. And so we want to recognize those churches and be able to point the right people to the right churches. We realize that one church, specifically Love Church, won't be the one church for every single person. Right. And so we want those churches that are near us to be able to have the resources, or we want to be able to have the resources to connect them to those churches. Yeah. And so we even have, I think it's called a Chinese church that's maybe a little bit further out. But again, figuring out churches that are around us that we can connect them ultimately to, because Love Church isn't the only expression. Yeah, right. So even if anyone wants to drive or has the ability to drive 25 minutes out here to a Lutheran church, whatever way we can connect them to that.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Yeah, I've told Adé that Love Church beat me by about 5 years to start a church on the Abide campus. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't come to Omaha soon enough, I guess. So
it might not be on our campus, but you never know. There could be another campus or another location
somewhere in the area. Yeah. Lord willing.
Yeah.
All right. So now I want to move on to talk about serving neighborhoods in the inner city to serving neighborhoods who are not in the inner city, right? So there are some historical challenges, to North Omaha, it being the historical redlining that's happened there, the lack of access to jobs that can support families, all that kind of stuff. And there's some systemic issues, with racism and some of those things that have gone on, right? And so North Omaha desperately does need that transformation. The pain is acute there, right? Just the kind of generational stuff going on, the trauma that's been placed into that area. But we also have lots of other neighborhoods in our community as well, right? That have their own pain, full of people who do need Jesus. We have families and churches that live all over the city. But I think that this kind of three-part work of a Lighthouse leader of Connect, Care, Call, I think that could be a great way for every Christian to think 100%. About what they do in their neighborhood. Because I know that maybe more in more middle class, more affluent areas, it's pretty easy not to know your neighbors, right? Because you got, multiple car garages and those kinds of things.
Right.
And you pull into your garage and you close the door, and the people that you're interacting with aren't the people who live right around you very much.
Yeah.
So talk to us about moving that idea, transferring that idea from North Omaha to every neighborhood. How might some of the people who are listening from neighborhoods different from North Omaha, how would you describe how this lighthouse idea could be transferred to other neighborhoods?
Yeah. What I tell families who move into North Omaha is, before you get too excited and wanting to do whatever it is in your neighborhood, whether it be basketball or cookouts or whatever it looks like, to observe and see your neighborhood first and recognize what are some of the things that bring your neighborhood together, if they even come together. Are there kids that are around? Are there areas or pockets where there tends to be a little more elderly people? Are your direct neighbors younger? And so I would say that same thing for those who live in different communities is, first observe, see what your neighborhood needs first, and then go after that specifically. If you have a neighborhood that has a lot of kids who are in athletics, so you know the families, I would say if there's a field nearby, if there's a park nearby, what ways can you get them involved in that? Can you, if you are a sports person, can you start a league with the kids without being creepy? Can you help the kids do that? If kids are out during the summer playing whatever, can you help? Can you provide popsicles? Can you provide different types of food? Can you do a cookout? During 4th of July, 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day are perfect opportunities to, everyone is grilling out during those times.
Right. They're already doing it.
They're already doing it, especially those who are in more affluent areas. So how can you get those people together and then start doing things together? Another thing I would say is to be bold. The reality is that, again, coming from the suburbs, you do go into your own garage. It's just you and your own family. And when you wake up in the morning, you get into your car that's already in the garage. You drive away, do the same thing over and over and over again. If you don't have any kids who are there, maybe extending to different kids in the neighborhoods, it's very easy to live this isolated private life. I would say, in being bold, how can you step out and spend a little bit more extra time outside of your front doors? It's amazing what going out to your mailbox does compared to driving in at driving into your car, getting the mail from your car and going right into your It's amazing what taking your trash down intentionally during the day makes different. It's amazing what walking around the neighborhood does when you're able to say hey to the neighbors, and then not just say hey to them, but go further than that. But it's also amazing in cold calls or code knocks. Can you go to someone's door, just knock on a door, invite them to something, just say, hey, I'm a neighbor down the street. Hey, my kids are blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever it looks like, how can you be bold? So I think some of those intentional acts are things that a lot of the suburbs are missing, that I think are super important to seeing a neighborhood come together and actually be more relational.
Yeah, that's good.
We tell our neighbor, and again, with the connect thing, like, just leave your house. And you can connect with somebody. I promise you. You know?
Yeah. Just hang around. Just be around.
Hang out.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, I like that you talked about observing first and then being bold, because I think that, and I'm sure that you've had situations where it's been like this, where you have somebody who's just really red hot coming in.
100%.
And it's just like, hey, just settle down. You know what I mean? Like just chill out.
100%.
So I like that. And I also like your suggestion of the simplicity. The simplicity of the boldness, right? Because really the boldness is like, oh, this might be a little like awkward if they're like, maybe I don't like really click with this person very well. Maybe they're hard to talk to. Maybe they're just not going to be interested in coming over for hamburgers and hot dogs or whatever. But it's really finding those easy ways to just create some space, right, in your time of to just be a neighbor,
100%.
which is what I think is so amazing about the Lighthouse program, is that all that you're doing is you're saying, hey, just live here and be here. And just be a Christian here. That's all that you got to do, right?
100%.
So you don't even have to have like the spiritual gift of hospitality where like people walk into your house and they're like, whoa, like look how well you've laid everything out and look at the spread you've given. It's like literally just like, hey, I am making this meal. Do you want to come over and have this meal with my family and I? You know what I mean? It's like literally that easy.
Seriously. I mean, you think about do you guys have a cup of milk that I can borrow? Simple as that. I mean, I got my neighbors' numbers as soon as I could. I found out I wouldn't say sneaky ways, but
sure, yeah. Excuses, good excuses.
How could I get your number instead of just go knock on your door? Because that makes it a little bit less awkward of having to knock every time. And I get to knowing over time than if I have your number and I can text you. Well, let me tell you another easy way that you can connect in your neighborhoods, but anywhere, especially around the Midwest. I say this thing all the time. In crisis, you can be most like Christ. Here's the reality. We have tornadoes. Yeah. We have bad storms. What do all the dads and the women and wives and people do when storms happen? They go outside. Yeah, why? Because Midwesterners are weird and crazy like that. Yeah. Like, we don't stand. I mean, in Atlanta, Georgia, if it's a storm, I mean, we're going to find the bathroom to the back of the house. To try to protect. I mean, but every time there's a storm, beautiful sky, but you know a tornado's coming right your way.
Yeah, you just go outside and watch.
You go outside and watch. That is a great way for you to connect. It's the good old, like, you know, how's the weather today? Or it's a very boring conversation, but that can lead to a deeper invitation there. But in crisis, when a storm happens, are there limbs you can go pick up for your neighbors? Is there trash you can go help your neighbors with? Is there, you know, trash cans and things around their house that were knocked over that you can kind of go help with? But in there, how can you go a little bit further? Hey, we have a little more resources here. We like to make some cookies for you guys. How can I make cookies for you? Can I bring you over some banana bread? Again, simple ways that you can be like Christ in those very tangible ways that can really draw people to you and make them feel more comfortable with you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it's amazing, you know, you talk about that, some of the cultural differences and cultural divides. Yeah. At our previous church, we lived in a small town. Yep. And even though we lived in a kind of middle-class neighborhood in our small town, the difference just in culture from that to where we live now, it is a little bit more diverse. But that's not the thing that's so different. What's different is the comfort level of just dropping by and saying hi. Man, like in this small town, it was like, if you saw each other outside, it turned into a 15-minute conversation every time. Like we had a neighbor who walked his dogs 4 or 5 times a day, and if we were outside, he would just stop and chit chat, like not in a hurry at all. Yeah, and then here it's so much different. I mean, just being in a city and all those kinds of things, there's just a difference in that speed of life.
100%.
And also in the type of neighborhood that we live in now, which is a subdivision, versus where we lived before, which is a little bit more historic. We didn't all have, big garages that we pulled into. A lot of people parked out on the street, that kind of stuff. But it is amazing, even just that small cultural difference of a middle class neighborhood in a small town to a middle class neighborhood in a city. Yeah, that's a big gap where now my wife and I are like, oh yeah, we do have to be a little bit more intentional. Yeah, man. and you do have to find some sneaky ways to it's the thing of like, you know what? I'm not going to buy a table saw so that I have to ask my neighbor for a table saw when I need to use it. You know what I mean? And there is a little bit of humility that goes into that, being like, because you almost have to let yourself be served.
Seriously.
For the sake of connection. Sure. Right?
Yeah.
Which I think of Jesus doing that, where he let people host him. I mean, you talk about, Zacchaeus up in the tree, where it's literally like, he's like, hey, I'm coming over to your house. You know what I mean? Like, he invites himself over, which of course, would have been a great honor, right, for Zacchaeus. That was a transformational act, but Jesus was willing to let himself be served by his neighbors 100%. In order to have that connection, in order to bring them into that redemptive relationship. Yeah. And so you really can be creative with it.
100%.
And in any neighborhood, right, of just like, I'm just going to make some decisions of, I'm going to buy an extra packet of burgers and hot dogs, and I'm literally just going to go to my neighbor's house, knock on the door, ask if they want to come over to the backyard for burgers and hot dogs, right? Simple. It's like finding those little sneaky ways of just being like, oh, well, I guess we have too many hot dogs. We have to go knock on our neighbor's door and be like, hey, you want to come over? We got too many. It's things 100%. Like that, Yeah. But I find that to be something difficult here. I'd be curious what you think in your community, how this is like, but in our neighborhood, which is middle class and fairly diverse, there's some owner occupancy, some rentals, that kind of stuff. But still, it's a middle class neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood. People are just so busy, and I noticed that out here in West Omaha that it's like you kind of have to schedule things like 4 to 6 weeks in advance. Yeah, for sure. Because families are just like all over the place, versus just being able to like text someone to be like, hey, we're gonna go do this tonight. if you want to go, you can come. It's like, no, people need like weeks in advance to be able to like fit it into their schedule.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your community is like.
Dude, it's the total opposite.
Is it? Yeah.
You have to tell them 20 minutes, and I'm so serious. I am so serious. You have to tell them 20 minutes or less in advance, and then they will be there.
Yeah.
Because if we tell them weeks in advance, there's no adding to a schedule. There's no adding to a calendar. But let me tell you why. I don't want to generalize North Omaha, but let me tell you why. Psychologically, those who are experiencing more sufferings and pains in their life, you take a homeless person, they're not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, but it's day to day. What are you experiencing on a day to day basis? How can you make it through today?
Yeah.
I know people who are in good positions who are saying, how do I make it through today? Yeah. And having a calendar is not just so normal. And so for them, they're not going to write on their schedule, on their calendar that's in their wall, hanging up by the dishwasher or on the refrigerator. Right. Go to a day's house in 3 weeks. Like, they're just not going to do that. Yeah. They're not going to. They might not even have a calendar. You know, seriously. And so I know for us, you definitely have to tell them 20 minutes in advance. Maybe 5 minutes, or hey, it's happening right now. Yeah. Come on over to the block party, and let me tell you why. Let me not tell you why, but let me tell you where. Follow the music that way. Yeah. And you got to be so specific compared to, again, it's going to be in the park over there in 3 weeks. Yeah. Hope you show up. Here goes the address. Like, they won't show up, and they're going to tell you, you didn't tell me that. Like, yeah, I did. Yeah. And so it's a whole different ballgame, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, and that's something that my wife and I miss being in a small town, because that's how that was much more like that in a small town.
Yeah, man.
Where you're like, you hear something going on, and you're like, I don't know, let's walk down and see what's happening. You know what I mean?
Show up.
You know, like, you hear music, and you're like, I don't know, let's go walk around and see what's going on. I don't know how many times we invited our neighbors, like we'd be grilling brats or whatever, and like literally just like walk over and knock on the door, be like, hey, you want to come over for dinner? Right. And it's like, all right, you know. It's like
so down.
Like, yeah, and we actually kind of miss that. Yeah. Because it's like, man, you got 4 to 6 business days to respond to an invite, and then you gotta give plenty of warning. Yeah, so there's going to be complications, right?
100%.
I guess the point is there's going to be complications in whatever neighborhood you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is part of that observing.
Yes.
Of trying to find what works. Yes. With the people that you're with.
Have to.
And then that care. This is going to be another. This will be another way that it's different, right? Because the care that a lot of your lighthouse leaders are offering, that Abide offers there, it's this kind of very immediate care, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be different than if you're in a West Omaha neighborhood as well,
100%.
where you almost have to kind of poke at, there's going to be some psychological, some emotional, some relational stuff, but you kind of poke around a little bit to find those pain points,
right?
To get people to even recognize, oh yeah, like I do need something here, because they may not even know it.
100%. And just to bring Connect Care Call back to more of a biblical standpoint, we use the connection between Connect Care Call to faith, hope, and love, and what Paul talks about at the very end of 1 Corinthians 13. And so it's obviously the love chapter, and that's probably at the very end. That's probably the one, I would say, part of the chapter that we tend to ignore in my mind the most, because we always read that at weddings. Sometimes I just think we ignore that sometimes, and I think we say it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's love. But here's the reality, man. Like, we connect to love. We put care to hope, and we put faith to call.
Yeah, that's good.
Loving your neighbor first is first and foremost what people want to experience. They want to experience love, truly. Ron, when he was first starting with Abide and moving into the neighborhood, he would believe that, well, it's got to be faith. Ultimately, I don't understand how love is the most important, because it's got to be faith, not just because chronologically it's there, but the reality is that, Hebrews talks about if you don't have faith, you can't please God, and in order for us to get into heaven and eternity with God, we have to have faith. And he said that he felt like God had said to him, well, Ron, wasn't it love that brought you ultimately to me? That's right. I love him because he first loved me. Wasn't it love that brought you to repentance and my kindness? Wasn't it love that did all these types of things? And it's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And so again, we kind of connect love to connect. Hey, how do I love them tangibly? How do I provide for them hope in a way that how do I care for them in a way that provides hope?
Yeah, that's good.
And then how do I call them higher towards a faith that is everlasting?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, I really like that, because it's not, it's not a reverse order of importance. Yes, it's just, but it's an order of, well, I guess, because technically 1 Corinthians 13 does does give it a weight of importance, saying the greatest of these is love. You know what I mean? So maybe that's not true. Maybe it is an order of a reverse order of importance, at least in the context of like how we're loving and doing those kinds of things. Yeah, because you can't really just scream at somebody and change their mind, right?
No.
And so that's why I really like that presence idea of you're loving people into this sense of hope. You're loving people into faith. Because you are the hands and feet of Jesus out there doing it, right? 100%. Wherever you are. And to maybe even go like another biblical aspect to this, that I think about a lot is just the whole arc of history in the Bible is pointing toward new creation, right?
Yes.
You know, so like the garden is creation as it was meant to be.
Right.
The fall kind of separates God from man, and man from each other, and man from creation. It kind of changes. He kicks him out of this overlap of heaven and earth, the Garden of Eden. And the whole story is all just like God giving people places that he is for heaven and earth to overlap once again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that ultimately culminates in Jesus, who is heaven and earth overlapped, in a person.
That's good.
And then we are invited now by the Holy Spirit to be in Christ. And Paul says it's no longer I who live, but it's Christ who lives in me. We're told when we're baptized, we're buried with Jesus and we're resurrected into newness of life in him. It's like we now as Christians are those places where heaven and earth overlap, and ultimately we are working with God to bring new creation here on earth, right? So all the different ways that we operate as Christians, we're bringing heaven and earth together, and that connect, care, call language helps us do that. Where the first thing that we do is we actually just are bringing new creation to a place, to a neighborhood, to a house, to the people who live right around us, you know, and people are experiencing that connection that they've never experienced before. They're experiencing a safe place to like have conversations, to bear their soul, to like have all these experiences of, I haven't had this kind of safety or this kind of vulnerability. I haven't been able to like let my hair down like this, in these ways. Like I'm so guarded everywhere else, but here I'm not, It's like that's that power of presence. And that care is you're literally building new creation on earth, right? You're feeding bellies, right? You are doing the things that God ultimately wants to do for all people in new creation, but you're doing it right now. So that's from like healing emotional wounds to actually feeding people, to do all those kinds of things. And then ultimately you're just inviting them, hey, you've already been experiencing this. Like, let me show you who's doing all of this.
That's good.
You're kind of like revealing the end thing.
That's good.
And that pattern can be replicated anywhere.
For sure.
Right. It doesn't have to be in any one neighborhood or any one place. That pattern can be replicated anywhere. And ultimately, I think that's what being a neighbor is about. Right. Is bringing heaven to earth in that way.
100%. I mean, and it's I think it's simpler than we make it out to be.
Absolutely. I mean, it is.
Jesus says, "Love thy neighbor." I get it.
So just go do it. Right.
And I get that it's something that we're not used to, but it is. I think Jesus makes it very simple. He shows us how to do it. The apostles show us how to do it. It's up to us to say yes to God, and I think that's the biggest thing that we ask people around Omaha to do. Say yes to God and love your neighbors. I think he will show you how to do it.
That's great. So, Adé, one encouragement that you would like to leave with listeners about being a good neighbor, what would it be?
I think you've actually done a really good job at making it a grander thing than just North Omaha. And I tell every person who inquires about Lighthouse leadership, if you were to move to Cuba today and get everything that I just said about Connect, Care, Call, my desire ultimately is not that you move into North Omaha for us to, for you to be paying rent to us. My desire is that you would do Connect, Care, Call anywhere. And so if I can inspire you by just having an inquiry meeting and you never choose to be a Lighthouse leader, I'm okay with that because you felt inspired to do it wherever you're called to. And so I think you've done a really good job at making it a broader sense of humanity. As Christians, we can Connect, Care, Call anywhere. You do not have to move it to North Omaha in order for you to do this. It simply comes down to you saying yes to God and hearing when he says to love thy neighbor, to take it seriously. I mean, the greatest commandment, to love God and to love others. I mean, loving others is a part of the commandment. It is the greatest commandment. I mean, obviously with loving God. Jesus meant it when he said that. He did not just mean love you by, hey, I love you, but how can I show you that I love you? So again, doing it wherever you are is my biggest encouragement.
That's great. That's great. Hey, and I want to give you the opportunity to tell us what's going on around Abide, because absolutely Abide is a fantastic organization serving North Omaha. But one of the things that I know y'all really care about is helping churches get connected to Abide to be able to serve in this way.
Right.
And so I love Abide. Like from like the moment I got here and I like heard about y'all, I was like, I got to connect right away. So Adé, you were there, and Ron and a couple others showed me around, showed me a couple lighthouses. And so I've been going to the leadership lunches, the leadership summit, all that kind of stuff. But Adé, can you tell us what's coming up with Abide and how people can get connected to y'all?
Yeah. So our biggest event is the Christmas store coming up soon. It's going to be happening on December, I think, 13th in the morning time, I think around 9 a.m. But I think it's it'll be on the actual Abide website. But we would love to point people towards that. If you can come to the Christmas store to serve, I mean, we're going to be serving thousands of kids around North Omaha. We have, I mean, it's the whole gymnasium is decked out. It looks like Target. We have tons of toys that come from churches across the board. Ways that churches can get involved would be serving through some of our parties, block parties that we have that are with neighborhoods. We have serving with some of the houses. It could be demolition. It could be painting. It could be picking up trash around the neighborhood. It could be with my own house. I mean, I love to have a church serve with my own house itself. But ultimately, I mean, for that Christmas store, if we can have a church or any church, your church, be a place where we gather all these toys and are able to pick them up here and bring them to our again, our facility for the Christmas store, that'd be powerful. I mean, we have many churches around the metro area of Omaha, along with businesses who are already partnering with us over the last however many years, who are gathering hundreds of toys.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so again, that's one of the biggest ways we'd ask people to be a part of is the Christmas store. We've got a few smaller events that are happening here and there. We've got a leadership lunch happening in November where we're going to have the mayor of Omaha be there.
Which I'm planning on being there.
Good.
That it's in November sometime, right? Mid-November.
Yeah. Mayor Ewing, he's going to be there. And so he's going to be asking me powerful. Hopefully a lot of people from the North Omaha and West Omaha community show up for that. So I mean, those two events are probably the biggest thing, but the Christmas store is the biggest way people can get in.
Yeah, let's make it happen. See if our church can partner with you all to make that happen. That'd be great. So awesome. Adé, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
It's been good.
Yeah. Thanks for listening in, guys. See you later.
Thank you.